Welcome, everyone. My name is Skip Wiley from beautiful Pensacola, Florida, and that's me here. I'm happy to be on our weekly podcast called the 5-Year Career Podcast. This is a podcast that has the ability to give you a pathway to a 5-year real estate career option. And what do I mean by that? I mean that over the next 5 years, you can develop an income stream that will produce enough revenue for you to live the rest of your life, whether you're actively working in real estate, traveling the world, staying at home, working on your hobbies, whatever you want to do. And I am honored today to be on this call with two of my closest friends, coaches that have trained thousands of real estate people on the art of becoming successful in real estate. Let's face it, real estate is a tough business. And if you don't have good coaching, good training, good support, good business strategy, your chances of succeeding in a highly competitive market are slim to none. As a matter of fact, statistics say that only a small percentage of people will actually succeed in real estate without good coaching, without a good business strategy, without a plan. So let me introduce you to my fellow podcast host. And number one, I'd like to introduce you to Patrick Butler. Patrick, I'm going to change your description this morning because I have learned so much about you over the past 6 months. Patrick is a consummate coach and trainer. He's a master of bankruptcy, of foreclosure, and a market that we're going to really build this year, which is affinity marketing. And he is one of the smartest and most organized and great sales trainers that I have ever had the experience to work with. And Patrick Butler, we're happy that you're part of today's podcast. Along with Patrick, we have another 25-year friend of mine, perhaps even longer, and that's Eric Wilner. Eric, stick up that hand of yours, if you will. Eric is a radio host for over 25 years with a syndicated radio show called The Real Estate Show. And Eric is also an experienced real estate investor. We call him the automatic landlord. And in combination with with his skills that he has with investment real estate, Eric has coached hundreds, maybe even thousands of people on how to buy, the art of buying investment real estate. So we're going to cover all three things on today's call. But the topic of today's call is a topic that I think most people have a tendency not to believe. Number one, not to believe it can happen for anyone, but number two, how can it happen for me? So I want to talk, as we get in today's presentation, a little bit about some statistics that have changed over the past couple of years because incomes have risen in the US. But the first statistic is this: 13% of US workers in today's world, make a 6-figure income. That's up from 6% a few years ago, but the most recent statistic is 13% of all workers in the US make a 6-figure income. Interesting fact, 18% of realtors in the US make a 6-figure income. So that may be one reason why if you aren't in the real estate industry today, and if you're in the real estate industry today, you should realize that 18% of the people that are in the real estate business today will make a 6-figure income in 2024. So the question for today's conversation is, how do you make a 6-figure annual income from sales? And that's the primary focus of today's call, is how to personally make that 6-figure income. And at the same time, over the next 5 short years, develop a 6-figure passive income stream over a 5-year period of time. I want to talk to you about another topic related to people who are new to the industry. Most beginners in their first year will close 1 to 3 transactions. Now, that's not enough to feed your family, put gas in your car, and live a life after you calculate your expenses. But our goal on today's call as an intermediate, we want to move you from that beginner status in your first 12 months to an intermediate. That is somebody that's going to close 5 to 10 transactions in their first year. And the number for people that are on our team, a number that is a 6-figure income number is 10 personal transactions. So how much do real estate agents make in a year? And this is the easiest way to calculate it.
And by the way, before you start calculating, for the purposes of where we are in today's world, the numbers used here are simply for example and illustration purposes. We are not quoting any specific commission percentages, setting prices, or anything of that nature.
Thank you, because that is a big issue now, why there is a national lawsuit related to real estate because of people saying standard commissions, blah, 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 blah. Oh, so let's look quickly at how much the real estate agents make per sale. Now, I did this for South Florida because the majority of the people that are on the team that we've developed are in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. So let's look at a real estate agent in Dade, Broward, or Palm Beach County. The average sales price is critically important. So the median sales price, according to Zillow, in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County is $450,000. The standard, and I'm going to change that word.
I would just say using an example of.
Using an example of, thank you very much for that.
I was just at a conference, by the way, where this was discussed in depth. So
yeah, well, tell us about that. What was said at that conference that causes you to be so cautious?
Well, without digressing too far from our podcast topic, I was at the Relocation Directors Council Spring Conference in Denver this week. And a couple of topics came up, one of which was very exciting. And the company that I was representing there, One Point Solutions, was not only a platinum sponsor, but the topic of one of the big sessions. So that was very cool. But the NAR settlement was a big deal. And at the beginning of the conference, they said, one thing we've got to be very careful of in any of our discussions is to not talk about commission percentages specifically, et cetera. And if you're sitting at a table where that comes up, you should literally stand up and walk away.
Wow.
So it was that severe, right? And I don't know where that all came from, but the president of the Worldwide Employee Relocation Council was there, and everybody was very, very walking on eggshells about the commission topic. So interesting stuff.
Yeah, very interesting, very scary, and I will change the language on that before I send it out to anyone. So thank you for that comment.
Yes, sir.
But if you look at a generic commission of 2.5%, that means that every time somebody sells a property in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County with a 2.5% commission on a $450,000 sale, the revenue that you're going to generate is $11,250. So using that, carrying on that same example, if our goal for all the people that are part of our team is to close 10 transactions in that first year, 10 transactions times that average commission of $11,250 would mean that that person is going to generate $112,250 in that first year. So why do I bring that up? And the reason why I bring it up is simply, let me get to the proper place here. I apologize. So why do I bring it up? Because what does 10 transactions mean at eXp Realty? I hear oftentimes in conversations with people, who are constantly being barraged by other companies about switching from EXP because of blank, because of blank, because of blank. I think it's imperative that you understand the real benefits of working for EXP and why so many top producing agents across this country are moving from their existing company to a company that may, on the surface, actually pay them less than what they're earning at their present company. As a matter of fact, there are 7 people last week that had their own businesses. They obviously earned 100% in their own business, that moved teams of 10 people, 50 people, 60 people from their existing companies, their own company that they owned, and rolled them into the EXP platform. Well, I want to share this example here. Let's say that you, on the right-hand side up here.
Skip, are you sharing your screen?
I thought I was sharing the screen.
Okay.
I'm not.
No.
Oh, sorry, guys. Let me share it now. Okay, well, I'm having difficulty. Patrick, can you help me here? Because I somehow can't get it up on the screen.
Well, here, let me share mine.
Hey, listen, this is an unrecorded podcast. Okay, I've kind of messed up today, which is it just happened. But I'm not going to get off this call until I finish this topic, because I really want everybody to understand what I see, what I know we can do over the next year. Are
you seeing what you want to see here?
Yeah, that's what I want to see. Thanks, Patrick.
Hmm.
Look, if you do 10 transactions at EXP, you need to know what your real costs are to work at this company. So if on those 10 transactions, using the example we had before, you're going to generate $112,500. And what are your costs? The maximum cost that you're going to pay at EXP is a $16,000 cap. In addition to that $16,000 cap, you are going to pay $25 per transaction for the support that you get from the state broker. Now, I've worked at a few companies. I've owned a few companies, and I will guarantee you this: it is impossible to get better support than what anyone receives at EXP if you use the tools that are available to you. Number one, the 3 guys that are on this call. Number 2, the state broker. You can use EXP World, and you can go into that office and meet with one of 20 different brokers that are there to support you. So that $25 per transaction is a blessing. It's a gift. It is the best support system I have ever experienced in 35 years of running and working for real estate companies. In addition, Andrew was on this call. Andrew experienced the benefit of the E&O policy of this company. When you are in the real estate business, no one ever anticipates being sued. But over my many years of being in this real estate business, I have been sued several times. And without an E&O policy, a affordable E&O policy, guess what happens? You have to pay it out of your pocket. So EXP charges an E&O fee on the first 10 it's 12 transactions. It's actually $500 is the exact amount that you would pay over the next 12 months, no matter how many transactions you do. So if you look at this example, you're going to pay EXP that amount of money out of the $112,500. And if you calculate the commission percentage that you earn, moving down to the next area, that means that you are making 85.2% on those transactions. Any question about that? Guys, you want to comment on that? Is that a good commission split for an agent who does 10 transactions in most of the companies. Patrick, I
I
know
would
that you
say
work.
so. Look, I
Would
come
you-
from the days when you started out with your company at 50-50, and based upon closed transactions, your commission split would rise up. And then you started the next year back at 50-50 again. And even then, as I was recruiting agents, I worked for one of the big brands, Coldwell Banker at the time. It was always a discussion about the split is almost irrelevant. And my question to them would be, what if you could make $1 on every transaction, but some miracle you could do 1 million transactions a year? Would you be happy with $1 million in income? And there your split is 0.000001. So it really comes down to time and money, the time value of money, and what revenue are you putting in your pocket. So being over 80%, in my opinion, with all of the resources that you get and don't have to pay for out of pocket, such as things like KV Core and contact relationship and customer relationship systems, marketing, yeah, it's well worth every penny of it.
Eric, I know you're always involved with EXP on the broker meeting, and you take a lot of the courses that are available there. What's your comment about that, about the resources that people receive when they work at EXP?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
It's I listen to this conversation, and I find it, first of all, very interesting. Because until you have reached either manager level or owned your own business, most people don't understand this. Okay. And it starts, first of all, let's talk a little bit about logic before I get into some of those resources. Because someone will listen to what you just said, Skip, and it says, yeah, but where I work, I get 100%. Right. So how can this be better than me making 100%? And of course, the default is to explain that for 100%, and then think about this: if a business made money but paid out 100% of its revenue in expenses, how long would the business stay in business?
Not long.
Right?
Not
And so
long.
what's the point of having a business if you make 0%? So needless to say, the money, if the company stays in business, they're making money somewhere else, right? And then we don't take that into consideration. And so when they do the math, they don't count, the fee for this, the fee for that, for the desk, for all of the things, because all of these things, whether it be let's talk about the resources now. The resources that you get, what's important? Number one is a way for you to do marketing and to track your marketing. Okay? Because without marketing, there's no business again. And so if you have cutting edge tools to be able to do that, and most brokerages, they basically say, here's a phone, here's the yellow pages, go get them Tiger. And that's why we have such a high fallout rate in the real estate business, and why generally perceived the real estate agents have a low esteem in the public's eye, because most of them are untrained, unsupported, and they're out there like cowboys in the wild, wild west. So back to your question, imagine a company, if there were one, that was available to you almost 24/7, provided you the most state-of-the-art cutting edge tools, and of course none of that's free, then put you in front of the best training that there is in the country. Now let's go back to one of the very popular companies right now, one of the largest companies that is famous for their training. Okay, and they do not have a 100% commission structure, because it's very clear, but people go there because of the training. Now, typically speaking, the trainer is the number one producer in that office. Now, if you happen to be in an office where there ain't that many people or ain't that many good people, once again, you were limited. Whereas here, with the technology that we have, you're put in front of the best trained, performing experts in the country, and you don't have to live in a metropolitan area to get access to that. So between the technology, the state-of-the-art training, the state of the industry, best of industry, to have a guy like Patrick who's flying around the country attending the top conferences of the top companies, and then to have access to him like it's nothing. is invaluable, And then you look at the lead generation sources, the ability, because what are the important things? The back office accounting. I used to before this company, if I had an issue with accounting, or if I wanted to go pick up or drop off a check, I had to go drive to the office. I had to wait in line and see what time, and only during very limited hours, to go straighten that stuff out. Here today, I'm in headquarters without leaving my desk, talking to a live person and a team that offers it. So you tell me what that's worth. Okay.
Yeah. Having owned several companies, I know what it's worth, because the last company I had a staff overhead of $80,000 a month for many, many, many years. Somebody had to pay for that, and the reality is, I'm going to give just one more quick example, and it's just very quick example. The more business that you do at EXP, the more beneficial it is for you to work here. As an example, if you do 12 transactions using the commission that we talked about a minute ago, it's $135,000 in gross revenue, minus those expenses, which are approximately the same. So if you take the net amount and divide it by 135,000, you're making 87.6% commission split on a company that provides you, in my humble opinion, and that's why I'm here. I could go anywhere. I get recruited all the time. The reality is I can't afford, I have never paid EXP any money for the past 5 years, because the second part of our platform is that EXP allows me to build a team of agents that I coach, that I train, that I support, and all of us support. And I shouldn't say we support, and the company supports through the technology, through the training, through the education. But over the past 5 years, I've been able to develop a large enough team that EXP pays me more than this $16,800 that is the max that I could ever possibly pay them. And so the pathway to success in real estate is first become a producer, not to recruit people, to become a producing agent. Once that pathway has been met, and the way to do it, we're going to talk about in just a minute, through some strategies, through some things that we're going to be teaching you over the next year, over the next 2 years, over the next 5 years. We're going to continue to teach you techniques and strategies, marketing ideas that will help you achieve goal number 1, which is to close 10 closings a year. 10 closings a year produce $100,000 in revenue. And that is what I call the stabilization plan, because you got to have money coming in before you can do other things in your life. Right, guys? I mean, without any money coming into your business, it's pretty hard to segment your business and develop the second part of EXP, which is building your own personal sales team. So let's talk about the pathway to $127,000 in passive annual income. Now, let's assume that everybody on this call makes a commitment and achieves the goal of 10 closings every single year. Patrick, you've been in the business a long time. Eric, you've been in the business a long time. Is 10 closings a year a realistic number based on the tools, the market, the conditions?
Absolutely.
I would consider it a low number.
A low number. Speak about that for a minute.
Well, the 10, that's not even closing one transaction per month.
Okay.
Okay. And so what are you doing with your time? Is this really a full-time occupation if you're not closing one transaction per month?
Got it. 18% of the people in real estate close 100,000. That's almost 1 out of 5 people can close 10 transactions, because that's what it takes in most markets to be able to generate a 6-figure income. So the pathway to residual income is over the next 5 years, recruiting 12 personal people on your team. We're not going to talk about how to do that today, but you just have to understand the economics, the numbers. We're not talking huge numbers. 12 people who do what? Who close 7 to 10 transactions every year. That's it. That produces $33,600 in passive income. How much what's the max anyone will pay EXP annually? $16,700. So if somebody does that and that alone, that single act means that EXP is more, you earn more than 100% with EXP every single year. Is that better than 100% company? If you earn more than 100%, yes or no?
Oh, yeah.
What the math says.
Math is math. Now, in the next couple of years, after you build this nucleus of 12 people, after you develop a business that you're actually, the company is paying you more than you actually earn or produce with your transactions, 25 agents will pay you 80,000, 7 agents will pay you another 14. Plus, on those agents that you personally recruit into the business, once the first year, the company is going to pay you $7,200 in stock, company stock, for bringing those people into the company. Now, that's not the intent of today's call, but the pathway is the intent of today's call. And we have experts on this call that are going to bring to you the actual strategies, marketing materials, and techniques. But I just want you to look at what top producers, how do people who get into an industry, who stay in it for 30 years or longer, what do they do? What is their pathway to 10 closings and building 6 front-level agents? Well, my strategy and the strategy of the people, the other podcasters, is to focus on niches. So what I've done today is make a list of niches that I know are niches that you can implement that will help you become successful. Now, you might need some coaching, you will need some training, you will need some marketing materials, and that's the purpose of each of our podcasts, to provide you with not only the niche, but the techniques and strategies that you're going to need to implement in order to achieve success. So let's just talk about each one of them. And the first is my favorite. It's the easiest to implement. And we, Patrick and Eric and I, have a do-it-for-you program that we're going to be rolling out for you to be able to join us on each of our webinars. And we will be doing webinars. We are currently doing, and I want Eric to talk about that in a minute, first-time homebuyer webinars, first-time investor webinars, new construction webinars, and we will be adding an affinity marketing program webinar where you'll be able to go out to employers and invite them to attend this webinar. So Eric, speak a minute about the success we've had with first-time homebuyers.
Well, 40% of the market out there typically, and it fluctuates a little bit, but 40% of the buyers are first-time home buyers out there in the marketplace. So it's a very attractive niche to go after, number one. Number two, as clients, they're in desperate need of guidance. The real estate, which is with the purchase, which is the number one largest transaction most people will have in their life. Imagine doing it for the very first time, coming out without a lot of experience. So it's a great target market, number one. Number two, now finding them is always the challenge, right? How do you find them? And so going, as Skip was giving an example before, talking to one and then one and one and one, and then being able to attract them to work with you, and then to go find them a house is a long process. Imagine that instead of talking one by one, you could talk to 10 at a time, 20 at a time. And that's done through webinars and online or in-person workshops. And so what we have developed is a system where we attract 10, 15, sometimes as many as 30 people to show up to a workshop to learn. And that's your opportunity for you to demonstrate your knowledge and build a credibility in their eyes so that they want to come work with you. And it's a very effective and very efficient way of attracting clients to come work with you. And when they feel confident and comfortable that you know what you're doing, they're going to want to walk alongside with you to get their first home.
Yeah, the trust and confidence is what a webinar does. Anytime you do a webinar, in the eyes of the person who's on the other end, if it's a professional webinar and you're providing them with knowledge and education, with not sales pitch, knowledge and education, those people are going to immediately gain confidence to work with you. And that's the power of a webinar. Patrick?
There used to be a clothing company in South Florida called Sims, and their tagline was, "An educated consumer is our best customer." And the reason for that was because they provided real value, and they really liked the fact that somebody went in there knowing what they were looking at. And their mission, their model is different from traditional retailers or whatever. But, that's the beauty of doing webinars. And Eric, you said it, it's efficient. Spending an hour with an individual, walking them through the process of home buying is difficult if you're doing it over and over and over again. And sometimes real estate professionals take shortcuts. In fact, one of the topics that came up at the conference I was at is over the last years, process in real estate went by the wayside. You could literally run into somebody that said they wanted to sell a house, breathe on it, and it would sell. And so the normal course of presenting your services, the potential pitfalls, how you help people through it and going through the process went right out the window. And now here we are today needing to bring process back. And there's no better way to do it than like we're doing right here, to have one message going out in an hour to multiple people. And that way you've gotten that piece of the equation off the table. And then you can take the time doing the actual work, not the presentation to prepare for it.
Okay, excellent comment. I have a statement. My favorite niche, and will continue to be for the rest of my career, are webinars. They've proven to be successful for me. They will be successful for you if you choose that as a niche, because what we'll be doing over the next 10 weeks is providing you with every single tool that you need to implement a webinar campaign on any one of those webinars that are featured on the screen. Number 2, for sale by owners and expired listings. The fun part of the real estate business. That is a niche. So who's had some experience, some success working with for sale by owners and expired listing? Patrick, I know you have over the years.
Yeah, in my early days, that's how I made my living, both of those items. Candidly, I don't work with them presently, but it was definitely the fastest approach to get to listings, which I always wanted to be a listing agent and always was. The people that are selling their homes are the best people to talk to, especially if they're not represented by a brokerage firm.
Okay. Especially because they've already raised their hand saying that they want to sell.
Yep.
And and statistically and historically, the numbers have said that about 85 to 90% of people who start out as for sale by owner will end up listing with an agent, right? Because after all, it is a complex transaction. It is a big transaction. There's a lot of technicalities. There's a lot of legalities. And so at the end of the day, they realize that they need somebody competent to help them. And I think, one of the things that I keep hearing this over and over, and I'm not sure whether everyone else does as well, but real estate, which used to be a popular part-time, occupation, it was housewives would do it, retirees would do it as something extra. Those days are over because of the complexity and the ever rising price of everything. That it is becoming more and more a profession, and it's becoming more and more of a business. And that's why you've got to know, to Patrick's point, there is a process, and there's a right process, and there's a wrong process. There's an efficient process, and there's an inefficient process. The inefficient and wrong people are going to get pushed out of the business. They'll just be left behind. And like these new legislation It scares the people who don't really understand the business. The top producers, they said, okay, explain to me what the new guidelines and rules are. I'll incorporate it in my process and let's move forward, because
Yep.
I'm still going to do. And that's why I said before, if you're really in this business and you're not doing one transaction a month, the number one agent in the country is doing how many transactions a year?
Well, the number one agent at EXP happens to be a person that's part of our South Florida team. His name is John Scalia. He did $154 million last year. He's the number one agent in the company 3 years in a row. He averages somewhere between 600 to 900 transactions a year.
Okay, 600 to 900. Now, of course, that's an aberration, right? So what I just want to make the point is that not doing one a month, he does, dozens
30,
a
40.
month. He does dozens a month, right?
Yes, he
So
does.
I submit to you that you're not serious if you're not doing one transaction a month.
Absolutely.
You're not in the game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are lots of ways to make money, and real estate is fun if you're doing one transaction a month, and it becomes not so much fun if you're just 1 to 3 transactions, 5 transactions a year. So that's topic number 2. Now, why don't people do for sale by owners and expired listings? Because of one single word. It's called fear. That's the primary reason why people don't do it. The knowledge, we're going to share that with you over the next 10 weeks on how to make that possibly one of your niches. The third niche, and this is unbelievable, there are people across this country that do nothing but hold open houses. Not my cup of tea, but I do know people that the only marketing plan that they have is open houses. They'll hold an open house every Saturday, every Sunday, 8 a month, and they develop their whole business around marketing open houses, not even their own properties. So that's another niche, and it's one that we're going to talk about in detail. Patrick, talk about affinity marketing. I believe this is one of the biggest areas of expansion in 2024, especially based on the changes because of the NAR lawsuit. So talk about it.
Yeah, no question about it. In fact, as I mentioned, I was at the Relocation Directors Council conference in Denver this week, and the number one topic, bar none, aside from the changes in the industry, was affinity marketing, and that the relocation part of the business, and this was a real eye-opener, by the way. Some of the panels were relocation management companies, and to put this into perspective, historically, relo leads come from relocation management companies, the big ones that do all of the major moves for IBM and Coca-Cola, et cetera. Well, those panelists said their business has almost completely dried up since COVID because companies stopped moving people around. People are working remotely in many cases. And they said, they really need to get their departments and their companies retooled to handle the local employee. But this was a really important thought. I don't want to spend too much time here. They said, the days of corporate relocations where they move an executive from point A to point B are coming to a close, particularly with remote work opportunities. But that doesn't mean that people are not relocating anyway. The executive that lives in Omaha, Nebraska may move on their own volition, and it may not be corporate sponsored, so they're not getting the reload benefits, but they're still moving. And the reasons why the corporation would have offered them relocation benefits is to take out all of the distraction that occurs when one is moving. So these companies are all saying, we want to go down the affinity path. And I got to tell you, I've got demos lined up for the next month of companies that want to embrace the technology and send their agents out to build these corporate relationships. So it's a big deal, and it's coming hot and heavy. Although it's been a business model for the last 35, 40 years, its time has come to really hit the limelight.
So Patrick, because a lot of people don't really understand the affinity idea, in essence, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just going to go to a small to mid-sized company. I'm going to offer them benefits for all of their employees that cost the owner of that company $0, but the employee of the company will have benefits on perhaps slightly reduced real estate commissions, mortgage reduced costs, reduce cost in a whole category of services that are provided by the employer for the benefit of its employees, correct?
Yeah, and I don't want to burn up too much time on our podcast because we'll be running long today. But yes, that's exactly right, Skip. It's an employee perk, an employee benefit program, much like healthcare, insurance, or other employee benefits. That's absolutely free to the employer and actually can save them money in their recruiting, retention, and other aspects of their business that are affected by mobility and home ownership of their employees.
Yeah,
So
and
could
if
a
you want to
person
go
build
into
their
more detail, we
entire
have
real
a pod.
estate career? I'm sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, if you want to dive a little bit deeper, remember we have one podcast devoted just to this.
Yep.
So we don't have to spend a lot of time on this because we've got a podcast. Just look, down below, you'll find this topic explored in depth.
Yep.
Yeah. But the point of that is, could somebody build their whole career just on affinity marketing?
100%, because really affinity marketing is nothing more than a lead generation methodology. It's a funnel. And the top of the funnel are the employer groups that we bring in as clients. We do the marketing as we would to any other consumer group. And bearing in mind that at employers, you've got first-time buyers, move-up buyers, investors, and everything in between. So as we market to those, do webinars and seminars. So that's one of the things that works within affinity marketing, as well as even helping people if they want to sell on their own. So all of these things can fall under the umbrella of affinity marketing as well. And that's, Skip, where a couple of niches can be layered and worked simultaneously.
Absolutely.
So that you're not going this way, you're going this way. And that's where the focus comes in.
Good. Bankruptcy and foreclosures, a new niche. Expert on this call, Patrick Butler. So if you want to build your business around bankruptcy and foreclosure, which did not exist 3 years ago, because properties, the amount of foreclosures and bankruptcies was not a big segment of the marketplace, but now it's becoming a bigger segment every year because we're returning to a normal market.
Yeah.
So
and
that's
Skip,
another niche. Could you make a living just doing bankruptcy and foreclosures, Patrick?
Absolutely. In fact, I had a company for 10 years called BK Global that did exactly that. We had to talk about a heavy overhead. We had 16 high-level employees that all fed off of that business. We'll do a podcast on this, and we do have coaching programs for bankruptcy as well, but 30% of all foreclosures and REOs start out in bankruptcy. So if you're trying to become an REO agent, very difficult to get into that space because there are people that have been doing it for a long time. But imagine getting upstream from it, getting to them before they become REOs and helping the consumer avoid foreclosure, keep their equity, and help you do transactions where otherwise they would never be done before. And there's we could spend hours on this subject. And again, we've got 8 hours of training on this to provide, but that's a great way. Foreclosures is a whole nother universe. And guys like John Scalia, that's where many of his transactions come from, but that's a pay-to-play business. You've got to spend thousands of dollars to be a player in the asset management arena, and it's a whole separate universe. We could go on for hours about that topic.
Yeah. Okay, but it's a niche.
It's an absolute niche.
Yes. Express Offers is an exclusive niche for EXP, and just to give you, we signed an agreement with a national company so that we're able to offer home sellers a cash offer on their property. We're not going to talk about it on this call specifically. We will talk about it in a future podcast, but quite frankly, you could build a whole business around express offers. Another niche that new agents always snub is rental postings on Facebook Marketplace. I have a close friend. He was my ex-business partner. He makes $150,000 every year, and 80% of his income comes directly from rental income. Now, if you happen to be in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County, that works. Up here, you don't get paid any money on rental commissions, but since the majority of the people that are on my current team, our current team, are in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County, Jim Gardner, close friend, ex-business partner, does 4 to 6 rental closings every single month for the past 10 years. This guy knows that niche exists, and it's very lucrative. And by the way, when you're building a database of rental customers, guess what happens? Many of them become home buyers, and that's why he does it. The next area, the next niche, and it's not really a niche, but a couple things that we would ask that you do if you want to become an agent who closes 10 to 12 transactions every year is spend 15 minutes daily, 15 minutes daily on the hot sheet. Every market has a hot sheet. My habit every morning is to spend 15 minutes to learn about everything that's going on in my local market. You cannot be an expert. Hey, by the way, does anybody know the definition of an expert? No? It's anyone more than 30 miles away from home with a briefcase. That's the definition of an expert. And the reality is, if you really want to be an expert, you have to take time and energy to understand what the consumer doesn't know or understand. And the hot sheet does that better than anything that you can do. 15 minutes. One other comment, if you want to really become a professional, is EXP offers the very best training programs that I have ever experienced. And how much do they cost, guys? Those, thank you very much. They're all free. And you can go onto the EXP platform and you can see a schedule for the week and pick a couple classes. Nobody who's top producer, not one single top producer that I've ever known, doesn't continually educate themselves to new marketing strategies and techniques. And last but not least, the last key to becoming a top producing agent is to time block. Over the years, when I've made the greatest amount of money, it's time blocking. And I just read a book recommended by my good friend Eric called Going for No. I recommended it to Patrick. Each of us
I listened to it on the plane yesterday. It was good.
Yeah. It's a simple, about 1 hour and 58-minute book on the power of understanding the word no. Eric, take a minute
and
and talk
it really
about
is reframing. You were talking about fear before. People have this terrible fear of rejection or hearing the word no, but understanding and reframing what no really does mean. No doesn't mean that you're a bad person. No doesn't mean that you're incompetent. No doesn't mean that you have no future. No just means that they're not ready. It's not they either don't have enough information or the timing is wrong. But all the while, in every one of these niches, you've heard this that business in general is a numbers game, right? And you got to figure out what the numbers are. But if you understood that there was a formula, that if you were to contact 100 people, if you knew that if you contacted 100 people, you're going to end up with a sale, right? So then how many people do you need to contact to make one sale a month? 100 people, right? In there's going to be people that say yes, some people are going to say later, and some people are going to, and a lot are going to say no. And that's why that mindset, reframing it, can absolutely change your career.
Yeah. Do you have any feedback on that, Patrick? Because I know you've always
100%. And Eric's right. And no matter what it is that you do, in fact, something as simple as, and I know this because I did this myself when I went through the Sweat Hogs training, but Floyd Wickman had us do cold calling for 4 weeks. He didn't care where you got your business from outside of that, and it didn't count for the training, but you did 4 weeks of cold calling. And the thing was, you cold called out of the crisscross directory until you got a listing appointment. And interestingly, the first week I did that, which I was never a cold caller, 3 days in a row, the 17th contact that I made said, yeah, I am thinking of selling my house. And I got a listing appointment with them. On the 4th day, I counted 17 numbers down and I called that one first. It didn't work out for me that way. I figured I could save some time. But that's exactly right. And that's what the book Go for No is all about. Go for No simply says you need to get through the no's to get to the S's. And that's, Eric, you're right on. It's a mindset. And we talked about it last week. If a waiter came around and offered you more coffee and somebody says, no, thank you, and they quit their job because they got a no, or they couldn't go to another table because somebody said no more coffee, they would be out of business. And that's the mindset. No is exactly that. It's not against you. It's, I'm not ready to do a real estate transaction right now, but thank you.
Yeah, over the years, I find that the reason why people don't pick up the phone and call their friends or pick up the phone and call their uh, for sale by owners expired listings is because of self-doubt, because of fear, because of not knowing what to say. All of these things are kind of reflected in life, you know. I mean, you know, when I was a single guy, if I asked a girl to go out with me and she said no, like the coffee, I didn't stop asking girls to go out with me. I simply asked another girl. And yeah, rejection hurts, doesn't it? Is there anybody on this call that would say that they love rejection?
No.
No.
No. So
Oh, I'm
it's
sorry. I
never going to
said the
go
word no,
away.
didn't I?
But the one thing about that book that enticed me to listen to it 3 times now in the past 5 days is that it's simple. It just breaks it down to a very simple, comfortable mindset. So for those of you that are struggling with reaching out to enough people, go to Audible, get the book, go to know, and listen to it. 1 hour and I think it's 1 hour and 58 minutes. And maybe it won't impress you the way that it impressed me because I like its simplicity.
Yeah. And if we don't wrap up soon, our podcast will be 1 hour and 58 minutes.
All right, we're all done. So the purpose of this call today is to identify that the company you work with is really important. I believe eXp is the best company on the planet right now. And I think we've proven that today through some of the comments we've made. Number two, you need to pick, can you go back to that last section real quick? Just the very last section. Okay. Bottom line is you need to pick 2 niches.
Sorry, Skip. I already shut all that. There you
All
go.
right, no problem. Pick 2 niches and master them. Pick 3 if you're aggressive, but just pick 2 and just become the best that you could possibly become at those 2 niches. You can always add a 3rd niche later on. And then once you're successful at those niches, once you've proven to yourself that you can do what you want to share with other people, that what you've done, then all you have to do is start sharing your success with other people. I'm not the fanciest guy in the world. It's obvious from the way that I do things, but there is one thing that I have that I possess that anyone can possess. If I've done it, I can tell you that I've done it, and I can prove it to you through my numbers, and numbers will get people to join you at eXp. So become a winner first before you start recruiting people into the company. And I urge you to, over the next 10 weeks, to come to each of our Friday podcasts, because we're going to break down each of the niches and we're going to provide you with a marketing plan, marketing materials, and strategies to help you master the niche. So I'm done. Patrick, you want to finish out our meeting today?
Well, no, but Skip, thank you. I mean, that was great. Although it ran a little bit longer than we prefer sometimes, it was good content. And again, a good reset for anybody that's in this business and wanting to master the 5-year plan. Look, we're all here to help, and it's a great team. I love being part of this group. You guys are like brothers, and our team is like brothers and sisters. So it's a great family.
Hey, open it up to any quick questions that anybody has, please. Our podcast is over.
Our podcast is over. We're going to need to stop sharing our screen. We'll stop recording, and then we can meet with our group. Let me find my stop recording here. There we go. Sorry, folks.